it's Diabetic Girl. This is not going to be an easy video to make. I saw this article about 3 weeks ago, and it's really just kind of sat with me, and I was trying to not make a video, and now I feel like I really have to, so here's the article. For those of you who don't know, this is... Oh my god. Alright, so I have the article here. This is about Alex Rida, who was a 15-year-old young boy who lived out in Canada, and his parents neglected him and his diabetes, and he died weighing just 37 pounds right after his 15th birthday. So in case you guys haven't seen this, I have the article on my phone, so I'm just going to go ahead and read some of it to you. So it says, Alex Rida's parents suspected of faking his blood sugar readings. Murder trial hears. While Alex Rida was being cared for by a foster mother, he was described as chatty, funny, and giggly. But just weeks after being returned to his parents, he became quiet, wouldn't joke around, and was downward looking, according to the testimony by one of the boy's doctors in the Calgary courtroom. Emil and Radita Radita are on trial for first-degree murder in the death of Alex, 15, who weighed just 37 pounds at the time of his death in May 2013. The family moved to Alberta in 2009, but until then they had been living in British Columbia, where Alex was originally diagnosed with diabetes at age 2. From this point on, Alex was hospitalized several times, and his parents were in denial about his diagnosis, refusing to properly treat him. The year after his diagnosis, it was suspected that the Radita parents were taking their own blood sugar readings and reporting them to the hospital, according to Dr. Daniel Metziger, a pediatric endocrinologist who was a part of the medical team tasked with managing Alex's diabetes. Okay, so here's my first question. If that's what you think when you're the endo, why aren't you saying something? Why aren't you getting the state involved? There is just so much wrong with this situation, and it breaks my heart on so many levels, because I know that my family and I don't always get along, and I know that it always hasn't been easy, but they've always been there for that. And it just breaks my heart that this family, from the article I had originally read, thought that they could just pray away their son's diabetes and then nothing would happen. He went from foster home to foster home, where he finally was back to being himself. He was Alex. And then, just when he got better, just like that, he was returned to the same neglectful, abusive parents who had caused this to happen to him. Okay, I will continue. The parents had been ordered to report their readings to the hospital staff following the boy's initial diagnosis, said the doctor. Metziger testified on Tuesday that he wrote a letter to BC Social Services in 2001, explaining that he believed Alex was in danger in the family home. Emil and Radita did not believe in Metziger's diabetes diagnosis, according to the testimony. So, if you already knew they didn't agree to your diagnosis, why are you letting him go back? I don't understand, and this makes me so mad. I thought I was going to be calm during this, but I'm obviously not, and I'm really sorry. But there are just so many things wrong with this situation, and just... Continuing. So next it says conflict with parents. Court heard evidence of a highly tense relationship between the Radita parents and the hospital staff. There was a lot of conflict between the parents, the nurses, and security at the hospital, said Metziger. When I wasn't meant to be directly taking care of Alex, I was keeping away from the parents. So that should be your first warning sign. They claim they don't believe your diagnosis, and this is like what you're trying to do, and they're causing problems with nurses, staffing, security. Does that not seem a little weird? This is why advocacy is so important, and why sitting down and having the conversation with parents, even when they don't want to hear it, is important. It can save a child's life. If Alex had been able to stay in these foster homes and been permanent, and I know that foster homes means that he's just there for a few months while the parents get everything organized. Well, my question is, why wasn't he put in some sort of care, and why weren't his parents checked on more often? When the doctor suspected that they weren't giving him Alex's blood sugars, why didn't he contact the state then? And when he did, claiming he didn't think he was safe in that home, why didn't he try to fix it and prolong Alex's stay? Really make these people realize what they're doing. 2004, Alex was taken to the hospital near death. Near death! 2004! These people never believed a word this doctor said. I'm yelling. I'm really sorry, guys. I cannot believe that these parents were so dim-witted and that this staffing was so, just, I don't even know. I don't have words. I'm shocked. During that hospitalization, Alex was taken from his parents and placed with a foster mother for a year. Okay, so see, that's good. We got a little bit of a turnaround. He's placed in foster care. Alex talked about school, joked and giggled a lot, said the doctor of Alex's personality while he lived with his foster mother. He was a different person from when I first met him, said Metziger. Alex was chatty to the point where you could barely get him to stop talking. We had quite a nice little relationship going. Okay. Alright, Metzinger. Talk to me for a minute here. Let me understand. You saw the immediate improvement in Alex when he wasn't in that household. So why in God's name, and maybe, again, I don't know enough about the Canadian system, why in God's name are you letting him go back? Why are you letting him go back to an abusive and neglected home where you know his diabetes is not going to be cared for? I think what makes me so mad is that every time I think about me being in this situation, I am heartbroken. He obviously couldn't say anything. He was emancipated. He was miserable. There was nothing he could do. He was completely helpless. And that breaks my heart beyond compare. Continuing on. So the next section is called Radita's Disappear. But just weeks after being returned to his parents, Metziger testified that he noticed a difference in Alex, who had become quiet, kept his eyes down, and had stopped joking. Metziger continued to treat Alex until 2008, when the family failed to show up for an appointment. An investigation was launched, but the Raditas could not be found. Again, Metziger, you let him go back, and you saw the immediate change. And yet, 4 years later, he's still with them, and now they're gone. I don't understand why anyone would want to put a child in this situation. And I'm not going to take the excuse of these parents did not know. They had to have seen the massive difference in their son. They had to have. We did as many inquiries as we could, said Metzinger. At that point, it had been a year since the parents had bought insulin in British Columbia. Okay, okay. Here's my thought, and maybe this is because I wanted to go in to do social work and stuff like this when I had not found film yet. If you saw that they hadn't been purchasing insulin, why were you not calling the parents, calling the state, and getting the state involved, or calling the police? Like, I'm just saying, you're a doctor. You prescribe this stuff. You should know. I'm just saying. So, it now says, we called the school and they hadn't seen him in a long time. So that should have been your first clue. Obviously, these parents have gone back to neglecting and abusing poor Alex. But yet, you're just going to sit around and do absolutely nothing? That's the problem with the healthcare system these days, guys. I can't. Oh, that's the end. That's the end of the article. It says, Court of Queen's Bench Justice Karen Horner has yet to rule on the abysmality of the BC evidence. Ooh, there's more articles. This one says Alex Rida was dead for up to 36 hours. We're going to load that one while I talk. So these doctors, these social workers, his foster parents obviously know what these parents are doing to Alex. And I'm not saying, they could necessarily stop it altogether, but why are we letting him go from foster home, foster home, when we're seeing the same abusive patterns all over again? And again, I'm having a hard time with this because I can't imagine doing this to someone or having someone do this to me. Advocacy is so important. You can't pray away diabetes, just like all these cures on the internet are not going to work. Type 1 diabetes is hard to live with. It takes pressure. It takes a toll on the entire family. I've been there and I've done that, but this just breaks my heart. Okay, the next article loaded. So, Alex Rida was dead for up to 36 hours before 911 call. Parents' murder trial hears. A Calgary 18, who weighed 37 pounds, had been lying dead in his home for up to 36 hours before 911 was called, according to evidence from the first officer on the scene who testified at the murder trial of his parents. Radita and Emil Radita are charged with first-degree murder in their 15-year-old son Alex's death in May 2013. Larry Pugliese said that Emil Radita told first responders he found his son unresponsive around 8 p.m., but the officer was later told by medical investigator Shauna Mitchell that there was no way the teen was alive at that time. Her assessment was 12 to 36 hours. He'd been deceased. When Pugliese, I'm sorry, I'm like chopping these names. When Pugliese and Mitchell asked the Raditas why there had been such a huge delay in calling for medical help, the Raditas told them it had been their son's choice. No! It obviously wasn't their son's choice. He is 15, 37 pounds. He can barely move, and is probably so miserable that he doesn't know what to do with himself. He is beside himself. I highly doubt any 15-year-old child with any peace of mind would say this. Why? Because he was obviously already dead, and these parents did not care, and they were trying to cover their tracks so this wouldn't happen, so that they wouldn't get caught. Idiots. Emil had said that he told Alex that he needed to go to the hospital, but he refused, and said he didn't like to go to the hospitals because he had bad experiences there when he was just 3 years old, said Pugliese. That right there is a bold-faced lie, because every time that child was in a hospital, and yes, hospitals suck, I totally get it, but while he was there, he had care, he was treated for, he probably felt a lot better. He had the care he needed. Continuing. Oh, what happened? Okay. Mitchell and Pugliese then took the parents into a bedroom to talk about the circumstances surrounding their son's death. Radita told them Alex had no medical issues. That's when I spoke up, said Pugliese, who had been told about Alex's diagnosis just after 10 p.m. when he arrived at the family's home. Radita responded that her son had been diagnosed at age 3, but she did not believe he was a diabetic. Alex was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when his family lived in Surrey, BC, and was hospitalized numerous times. Earlier in the Court of Queen's Bench judge-alone trial, Justice Karen Horner heard evidence that the family had a history of refusing to treat Alex's diabetes. He was seized from them for a year by BC Social Services after he nearly died. The judge has yet to rule on the admissibility of the BC evidence. The parents told police and paramedics that Alex had had the flu for the 3 days leading up to his death and had been dealing with diarrhea for about a month. Alex Radita, beyond hope. When Pugliese first arrived at the Radita home, one of the paramedics was told him that Alex was beyond hope. When I first looked at the boy, my first instinct was, he's dead, said Pugliese. It was like a skeleton. The boy's body was on a bed in the middle of a bedroom, and paramedics were not working on him. One of the first paramedics on the scene testified last week that Alex was cold to the touch, stopped breathing, and had no pulse when she arrived. Pugliese said he gathered the 20 people he first encountered in the family's driveway, and had Radita and her other 7 children in the kitchen. All of the children lived at home, including 5 adults who ranged in age from 18 to 23 years old. No one was charged. Okay. Here we go. Parents said right then and there they didn't believe. He was seized from the parents. It's the same information over and over again. And I feel like the more we uncover, the more upset I get. These parents just didn't care. They have 5 other children. I think that's what I read. 5! And they're all fine! Yet this child was beyond hope when the paramedics got to him. He was already gone. These parents physically tortured, abused, and neglect their own son. Why? Because they didn't want to believe in his diagnosis of type 1 diabetes. And this, my friends, is where advocacy plays the biggest part in the world. And I know I've now said that twice. Advocacy is when you help others learn about diabetes or asthma or autism, whatever it is you are living with. These parents either didn't care enough or really honestly thought that praying away the diabetes was going to work, which means these parents are idiots. And I'm sorry. I know that most of this video has been yelling and screaming, but it's so important and something could have been done. When the doctor realized they weren't buying insulin, he could have said something. Alex could have been seized again and maybe not have gone back to that home. I know here in the States, DCF really tries to not take away children anymore unless it's an emergency. But this was an emergency! Nothing bothers me more than knowing that there was someone out there who needed the help and no one could give it to them. I don't know what to say and I don't know what to do. I am heartbroken. And while, yes, this happened 2 years ago, there's still no real answer as to what happened because it's still on trial now. So I will keep you updated with the information as it comes. And thank you guys so much for watching and thank you for your love and support. And again, I'm sorry I got kind of mad there. So you guys have a great day and I'll talk to you later. Bye!